Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. For today we're going to be making this really fun card showcasing excuse me, our Celebrate Sunflower stamp set and the coordinating sunflower dies. So I'm really excited. I wanted to give you guys something that wasn't your typical kind of sunflower yellow and brown tones and use this stamp set and this bundle in a really different way. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I am super excited to show you guys. So to start off this project, I want to go ahead and get our stamping out of the way. So let me go ahead and zoom in for you. I'm still trying out a new camera setup, so I'm playing around with some stuff, so I hope you guys are enjoying taking the ride along with me. I feel like you probably have no idea, but I promise I am filming in a different way. So that's, yeah. So I'm using Rococo Rose ink today. And I'm going to be taking the large sunflower stamp from the stamp set. And I just have a scrap here of Whisper White, just something that's large enough for me to stamp the sunflower on it. And so I'm actually going to ink this up. And because it's a larger stamp, I'm inking it up by putting the ink to the stamp instead of trying to put the stamp on the ink. What you can do is you can use your Stamparatus to do this because it's a bigger stamp. You may not get a perfect image the first time. If you don't, honestly, it's not that big of a deal because of the way that we are going to do this sunflower. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Petal Pink Stampin' Write marker and I am just going to color this thing all over. You can see that I'm being very sloppy with it. I'm not overly concerned. I am purposely going outside the lines because I don't want any white space in the on the perimeter of my flower. So I'm purposely making sure I color outside where we just stamped, and this just gives it a really pretty tone. I think I actually used Blushing Bride when I did my sample, and then I was playing around with Petal Pink afterwards, and I was like, oh, I actually really like that combination better. So you can also play around with different colors to use for this technique. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to grab my Early Espresso marker here, and you have the center here of your sunflower. I am going to completely color that in with Early Espresso, and I understand it's going to look really hideous right now. I promise, I know, but again, as I say all the time, there is a reason I'm doing this. I swear, I'm not just doing it for fun, I promise. So next, and let's zoom out a bit so you can see this beauty. I'm actually going to turn it this way because it's easier for me this way. We are going to bring in our new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Yay! I don't know why I decided to sing because that's not a thing that I normally do, but hey, here we are and that's fine. So we're going to be using this machine for a couple of different things. If you have not seen my full like unboxing and overview of this machine, definitely go check it out. I will leave a link up here. Where is my finger? Up there somewhere in the corner for you to go check that out because it is it's a really good video to give you guys a good overview and insight on the new machine. But I will stop rambling. Sorry, I couldn't find where I put my dies. So when we open up our dies, we're going to use the two flower dies. So we have this one right here that has all of the cutouts of the flower. And then we have this one, which is really just the outline of the flower. So we're going to use both of those. And before we do that, I should talk to you guys about the other paper that we're going to be using. So first and foremost, the outline we're going to use on the Whisper White piece that we just cut out. Pretty simple. We'll get that set up in a second. The other two pieces that I have are scraps of our Rococo Rose cardstock. And then I also have a scrap here, and this is the brushed metal paper that we have in the new mini holiday catalog. It's absolutely gorgeous paper, and it has so many uses. I think these two colors go really nicely together. On the flip side of these, I put a piece of our, I put an adhesive sheet on the back of each of these. So I cut down the adhesive sheet to fit the piece of cardstock perfectly. And the way that you do this, and I have a scrap sheet here. So this is just a cut down piece. Let's move this out of the way for a second so I can, ooh, that was loud. So I can really talk to you guys about this. So I should have done that first anyway. Sorry, I promise. I'm gonna figure this out, okay? this whole new filming setup is really starting to throw me off, but we will get there. So you have these adhesive sheets. They come in pretty large sheets, so you actually get quite a bit for your money because you can cut them down and use them multiple times. But what you can do is I always kind of, and you can see I have like a little Sharpie mark there. I always take my piece of paper and I just on the adhesive sheet kind of mark how big of a piece I want, and I cut that out first. Once I do that, then you can peel off the adhesive piece of it and you just stick it right down on the back of your cardstock. And what this is going to do, you're going to see when we cut these images out how useful it is to have the adhesive already right on the back of these. Because they are we're going to be using these for very intricate dies, it really helps to have your adhesive already on the back before you even cut it out. So I would highly recommend doing that for pieces like this. I promise it's going to help you way, way, way in the long run. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Basically, it's really going to help you in the long run is where I was going with that. So now let's bring our Big Shot back in. I don't know why I threw those pieces so far because I'm actually going to need them right now. So I'm going to do all of my die cutting first. So I'm going to grab my number 1 plate and I'm going to put that down. Then I'm going to grab my number 2 plate. Then I'm going to grab my number 3 plate, and I'm using the plate that I've already been using as kind of my bottom plate just to kind of keep it consistent. I'm going to go ahead and put my Rococo Rose piece in first, and then this die that is very intricate, it's really cutting out the sunflower. We're going to put that on the Rococo Rose piece of cardstock, again, that has the adhesive on the back of it. The other one that is the outline, I'm going to try to find how these line up. And what I have noticed are there are a few petals that really kind of curve outward. If you can find those, that really helps to line it up. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. But if you can, I really find that it helps to line those guys up. Like I said, most of the time I don't have an issue. But for whatever reason, I feel like I can't get it to line up perfectly right now. Okay, there we go. So I'm also going to grab a piece of washi, which is the one thing that I forgot to get out and get ready naturally. Because this machine doesn't have a magnetic plate released yet, so there is a magnetic plate that goes along with this. It just has not been released yet. It will be some point, but it's just not out yet. So I just use washi. Honestly, we had a magnetic plate with the last machine that we had, and I never purchased it just because I just always used washi. So for me, there's really no change. So I'm just going to stick that down so that my die doesn't move when I run this through. And then I'm going to put my other number 3 plate on top. I'm going to stick that down, kind of give it a once over once more just to make sure everything is in its place. And I moved this a bit, I think. So we're going to try to get it back into a good position and make sure that's good. And then we're just going to roll with it because, you know, sometimes it just can't be perfect. So I'm going to move this through, and I am telling you, this glides through like butter. I can't even, I feel like people are probably like, whatever, Lindsay, you're full of it because you just really want people to think you like the machine. Like, I legitimately love this machine. It's no joke. It seriously glides through like nobody's business. So next what we're going to do is let's finish up our die cutting. I forgot we have one other thing to cut. So I'm going to take the piece that we did, the Rococo Rose piece, and it's a very intricate piece, so you're probably going to have to kind of help pop it out of the die. I'm going to take this and just set it to the side for just a few minutes because we are going to use the same die to cut out our brushed metal piece. So again, I'm going to just make my sandwich right here, and then I'll stick it in the machine just because I have it here. So I'm going to put my brushed metal piece down. I'm going to take my die, and really with this, I'm only focusing on this center piece right here. So this piece right here is what I want to cut out. So you can see that it's not really going to fit the entire flower, and that's okay. I just want that little piece there. So create our little sandwich, bring the machine back in, and crank this bad boy through, just like that. And this time we can just set it off to the side because we don't need that die anymore. So I'm actually going to take all 3 of these plates, so my 2 plate and my 2 number 3 plates, set those off to the side. I'm going to be using my number 1 plate, and I'm going to bring in, this is the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is just a standard size card base, cut at, what is this cut at? 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm going to stick that in there. And then I'm going to bring in our specialty plate, which is the number 4 plate. And this is the one that you want to use with 3D embossing folders. I'm going to stick that on top, bring my machine back in, and crank this guy through really quickly. Again, it goes through like nobody's business. It is fantastic. And I just did that so that we could get all of our cutting and embossing out of the way. So you can see really quickly how pretty that piece of Whisper White cardstock is with all that texture. It really gives it a nice extra little look. So now let's address our flowers. So first I'm going to take the one that we cut out of the brushed metal, and it's going to get messy. I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's going to get a little messy, but it's going to be okay also. So I'm going to pop this out, and I am going to take my scissors, and I forgot to grab them. Naturally, I did grab my ribbon scissors because we're going to use those in a second, but of course I didn't grab just my normal snips. So let me pull in my sample here. So you can see we just want this center little piece here. So what I'm going to do is just very quickly go around and cut off all of these extra little bits. You don't have to do it in a fancy way. Honestly, you can just cut them because you're not really even gonna see or notice it once it's all kind of put together. Once I kind of chop them all off to begin with, I will go back and just kind of see if there's any that I like really have that are sticking out. Like these couple here are like really sticking out real bad, so I'll chop those off. But other than that, you don't have to be too perfect with it. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to take this, set that to the side for just a minute. I'm going to scoop all this into my trash can really fast to get the mess out of the way. You guys can't see this, but I promise I'm scooping it all into my trash can so that we can start fresh with the Rococo Rose piece. So with this one, we do want to keep this entire thing intact. So what you really want to do is just pop out all of these little inner bits. We do have that attachment for the Take Your Pick tool, which is what I have right here. We do have the brush attachment that goes with it. That is really good for things like this. Honestly though, I find that this die, they pop out really easily, that for me it's actually more of a hassle to get the tool out and the little pad that goes with it than it is to just pop them out. You may find a couple don't fully pop out, and that's okay. When we pull the backing sheet off, it'll actually come off really, really easily. So again, just give me a second. Let me throw all this stuff into my little bin here. And then we are going to take the other piece that we die cut and very carefully wiggle the washi tape off of it. And if it comes up a little bit, this one it's actually okay. Ooh, I did not do a very good job at trying to get the sticky off of this one. That was a no-go on my part, so it's going to be a little rough, but it's okay. It's going to be fine. If that happens, you can take your marker and kind of fill it back in. And we're going to be putting all this other stuff on it, so you're not really going to see it. It'll be fine. Perfect. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, take my dies, throw those out of the way. I'm going to bring in the Rococo Rose piece, and I'm going to peel the backing off of this cut out piece. So the piece that I actually had, it's two pieces put together. So you'll see when I peel this off, only half of it has peeled off. It actually helps you in the long run if you do it this way, because then you're not as committed when you start to place it down, especially when you try to find how it fits on here perfectly. But you don't have to. You can absolutely just kind of wing it. I've done that in the past. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it down once I find the right way that it goes down. And I'm going to stick that half down. One thing that I did want to point out are there are these really tiny little holes. Sorry, I'm trying to find the camera. There are these really tiny little holes here. Don't worry about popping those out. If you saw when I pulled back the backing sheet, they come right out. You may have like one or two. It's much easier to worry about the one or two than to try to worry about all of them. So now that I have that first half stuck down, I can take your pick tool. I'm lifting this up ever so slightly, taking my take your pick tool to help kind of get that one edge started. And once I get the one edge started, then I can peel the rest back. And again, you see all of those little Rococo rose pieces come out with that. And then I can just stick the rest of this down and have this really, really, really gorgeous flower. I love it. It looks so pretty. I absolutely love this. So it's going to get even better. Let's take our gold piece, and I did not think ahead on this one, and I don't think my gold piece has a slit in the back, so it's pretty easy to kind of peel off though. It's no big deal. This one I would pay attention to any of the little circles that want to hang around, because you do want to see the pink cardstock through the back. Or I shouldn't say through the back, but through the holes. So I would pop them out if you can. If it's a hassle to pop them out, then I wouldn't worry about it. And you'll see there are these little tiny notches. Let me see if I can zoom in any more for you guys to see as I'm doing this. It might get a little grainy, the video might, but we will, oops, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm telling you guys, I will figure this new filming thing one day, I promise. So there are these little tiny notches on the inside of this piece. You can use those to help line up where this little inner piece goes. And then you can just stick it down just like that. You guys, look at how cute that is. I love it. Okay, so let's set this off to the side, and let's get the rest of our stamping done, which is just this one little piece. So this is another tiny piece of the brushed metal cardstock. I don't know if it's cardstock. I think it's cardstock. It's brushed metal paper maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to take my Stays-On ink. Stays-On does not smear on this, but what I will say is grab a scrap piece of paper. Just trying to find one. So Stays-On will not smear on this, but my little trick is to ink your stamp up, stamp it off once on a regular cardstock, and then stamp it on the brush metal piece. Just like that. It's a little faded, but it gets a nice crisp image. I find if I stamp directly onto the brush metal piece, it smears a little bit. So it's just one of those trade-offs. It will not smear here. It won't smear once it's there and dry. It just takes a couple seconds to dry. But I find stamping off first really helps make sure that you get a crisp image. So take that and set that off to the side. And now it's really time to put this card together. So I'm going to bring in my piece of Whisper White that we embossed earlier. And I am going to also grab my, what is this? This is the faux suede trim. I know I just used this, okay? I know I just used this, but it's so pretty and it just matched perfectly with this card that I couldn't not use it again. It was just too perfect. So I'm going to take a piece of tape or a couple pieces of tape. I'm going to do the cheater method, and I'm going to stick some of this on the back of this piece, and then I'm going to go down in a diagonal. I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to go straight across, and then I'm going to go down in a diagonal again. So this is what it will end up looking like. And you can see here, sorry, my arm's in the way. You can see that I want on the right-hand side where we're going to put our sentiment, I want them to be pretty close so that you can really see the ribbon there. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Maybe scooch it just a snug bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Look, I used my ribbon scissors even. Man, I'm on top of it today. And I'm going to grab my piece of tape. And I'm just going to kind of find where I think it would look best. That looks good enough for me. And there is that. So now our piece is ready to go to be put onto our card base. So this is just a piece of early espresso. It is cut at 11 inches by 4 1/4 and scored at 5 1/2. Because this piece is embossed and it has some ribbon on the back of it, I am going to use our Stampin' Seal Plus. I've actually been using this a bit more just to kind of play around with it and see how I like it. I know some people are still having issues getting the hang of Stampin' Seal, the regular Stampin' Seal. Whoa, I totally was not paying attention and did that over the edge. You can always just fold it back with your finger. But what I was gonna say is I know people are having issues learning and kind of getting the hang of Stampin' Seal, the regular one. I do find, and I've seen other people say that they find that the Stampin' Seal Plus is just easier to use. So if you are having a difficult time, you may want to try to give that a shot and see how that goes for you. So I'm just going to center this just like I would on any other card. No big deal at all. I know a lot of times people, when they do ribbon, they want to do it on dimensional so that it doesn't have kind of a weird texture. This one, I don't mind. It's pretty flat. This ribbon is pretty flat, so I think it works okay. Next, I'm going to take our piece of, it's a piece of a lot of stuff, but our little flower here, and I'm going to put this up on dimensionals. So as usual, I'm going to use like way too many dimensionals, but that's just how I roll. You guys know this. I'm sorry. I just like to make sure it's nice and secure. And honestly, dimensionals are so cheap. I think they're like $3 or something for like 100. So you might as well go a little crazy and make sure that your stuff is going to stay down. Right? Right? Please, somebody just agree with me so I don't feel as bad. Yeah. I'm just going to assume that you all are agreeing with me, and so I feel perfectly fine about it. So I'm going to take my flower here, and I'm going to do this in the center. I'm going to center it as up and down, but I'm going to put it to the left-hand side of my card. And I'm just going to stick that down just like that. I'm going to grab my little sentiment here, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this guy as well. Just one on each side. I'm actually going to put one in the middle too. And I'm mainly doing this because we're putting it down on ribbon. So sometimes dimensionals don't stay super well on when you're sticking them down to ribbon. So what I'm also going to do is take my glue dots, and I'm going to put a glue dot on the back of each dimensional here, just so I know that it's going to be really nice and secure and it's not going to go anywhere. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of lift my sunflower a bit, and I'm going to snug that right up under my sunflower just a smidge and press that down just like that. So stinking adorable, you guys. Oh, I can't even stand it. So to finish this card off, I am going to use the Elegant Faceted Gems, and you have 3 different colors here. You have clear, this like kind of light brown color, and then white. I think the white would be really pretty, but I'm going to use the clear ones here just because that's what I used on my sample card, and I think they look really nice. I'm just going to kind of randomly place them. You do have 2 different sizes, so I'm going to mix it up as far as sizes go and just the placement of them. And I'm just going to kind of make it, like I said, a little bit random so that it's really kind of more abstract. I think it just gives it a little bit of an extra something. I felt like this half of the card was very plain, and so I wanted to add a little bit of something. The one suggestion that I would say is, as you're placing these, make sure you end up with an odd number. Odd numbers are just more appeasing to the eye, and so you're most likely going to be more satisfied with the look if you use an odd number of gems. So if you didn't know that, there is a tip for you for the day. You are very welcome. And then the last thing that we need to do to kind of put this card together or finish it off is just fold our card base in half. Use our bone folder here and score this bad boy. And that is it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's project. I loved doing it. I think it's really pretty. As always, you can find all of the products, why can't I ever say that? All of the products I've been talking about today just by going to littlemoncreation.stampinup.net. You can also go to the coordinating blog post, which is the first link in the description box below, and that'll take you to a list of all of the products that I use, sizes, more in-depth details about how you can make this at home or the materials that you need to make this at home. And you can always just check out littlemoncreation.com for a bunch of other stuff also not related to this video. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!